Welcome to our deep dive into day one of the Donna Adelson murder trial testimony. We're going to sift through, the courtroom arguments, the detective work, and these really complex family dynamics.
Yeah, our goal here is really to unpack the evidence, what the prosecution presented, sure, but also how the defense pushed back.
Right.
It's not just what they said happened, but looking at why it matters and, the big questions it raises about responsibility, especially in families.
Okay, so let's get into it. Day one, the state leads with their main investigator, Detective Craig Isom.
Yeah, Isom. He's been on this case for years, and he basically laid out the prosecution's roadmap.
And it seemed like he had two main paths he was walking down.
Exactly. That's what was really interesting. He set up these two parallel tracks. First, the motive, why would they want this? And second, the physical evidence, how did it actually happen?
Okay, so let's start with motive. What was the core argument there?
It boils down to the Adelson family's desperate desire, as he put it, for Wendy Adelson and her kids to move back down to South Florida.
This was after that really bitter divorce, right?
Yeah.
Where the judge basically said, no way to relocation.
Precisely. Her motion to relocate was denied with prejudice back in 2013. That with prejudice part is important. It meant she couldn't just ask again easily. The door was pretty much slammed shut by the court.
And the prosecution didn't just say they wanted her to move. They presented some, pretty extreme ideas Donna allegedly had.
Oh, yeah. Very extreme. Isom testified about emails, apparently showing Donna Adelson suggesting $1 million bribe to Dan Markle. Just pay him off to let Wendy and the kids move.
Wow. $1 million.
Yeah. And when that didn't fly, Isom mentioned another email suggesting Wendy should threaten to, convert the children to Catholicism.
What? Why Catholicism?
Well, knowing Markle was deeply committed to his Jewish faith, the idea was this would be incredibly upsetting to him, maybe coercive. They even talked about staging photos.
That's intense. And then there was the financial aspect, too, right? After his death.
Yeah. Markle's death triggered a significant estate, about $2.7 million total. That included a $2 million life insurance policy, and also around $4,800 a month in survivor benefits for the children. Now, that money didn't go directly to Donna, but it certainly benefited the grandchildren she wanted nearby. It removed a financial obstacle, you could argue.
Okay, so that's the why. How did Isom then connect the Adelsons to the actual crime, the physical side?
Right, the how. This started with that silver Prius. They traced it driving from Miami up to Tallahassee and back around the time of the murder.
And they had footage.
Yeah, surveillance video from Markle's gym showing the Prius there while he was working out. And then city bus cameras caught it, leaving the scene right after the shooting. It had 2 people inside.
And that helped narrow down the time.
Definitely. They pinned down the murder window to just 11 minutes, 10:51 a.m. to 11:02 a.m. Very tight.
So how did they link that Prius back to the Adelsons?
Okay, this is where it gets layered. The crucial piece was SunPass toll records. That led investigators to a rental car agreement for the Prius in Luis Rivera's name.
Okay, Rivera, one of the men already convicted.
Exactly. And on that rental agreement, there was a handwritten note, brother, that pointed them to Sigfredo Garcia Rivera's childhood friend, later convicted as the shooter.
Gotcha. So Prius to Rivera to Garcia. How does that connect to the family?
Cell phone data put both Rivera and Garcia at Katherine Magbanua's place the night before the murder. And Magbanua is the key link. She was dating Charlie Adelson at the time.
Wendy's brother.
Right. And she's also the mother of Sigfredo Garcia's children. So boom, you have the alleged killers connected directly to Charlie Adelson's girlfriend.
That's quite a chain of connections. And then there was the money aspect again, wasn't there, after the murder?
Yes, the money trail. Isom detailed how, in the 16 months after the murder, Magbanua deposited Owen $56,000 in cash.
56 grand. Cash.
And maybe even more directly, starting just 2 months after Markle died, Magbanua started getting regular paychecks, biweekly, for $407.58 from the Adelson Institute, the family's dental practice. And every single check was signed by Donna Adelson. She was the bookkeeper.
Okay, but maybe Magbanua actually worked there.
Well, that's the question the prosecution raised. Investigators found no W-2 forms for her, no job description, no timesheets, nothing you normally expect for an employee. Raising suspicions, these were, payments for something else.
Right, so that's a pretty detailed case from the prosecution on day one. But the defense, Attorney Gelman, he came out swinging, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He immediately started poking holes, especially in that digital evidence, the emails.
What was his main point there?
His argument was, look, this email address, donnaharvey@gmail.com, it was shared. How can you prove who actually typed a specific email? He pointed out that lots of the emails the state attributed to Donna were actually signed Dad or Harvey.
Interesting. So, authentication issues. What else did the defense challenge?
They hit hard on what they called investigative gaps. Like, law enforcement apparently never got Donna Adelson's own SunPass records. So you can track the Prius, but you can't place her movements definitively using the same method.
Huh. That seems potentially significant.
Right. They also asked if investigators check for things like construction delays on the route from Miami, things that could affect travel time calculations. Little details, but they add up.
And what about Donna's extreme suggestions in the emails, like the conversion threat?
Zellman's point was, yeah, maybe the suggestions were extreme, but Wendy never actually did any of them. She didn't stage photos, didn't threaten conversions, so were they just venting or actual plans?
Okay. And the payments to Magbanua?
The defense tried to normalize it. They argued, look, this is a small, kind of informal family dental practice. Maybe their record keeping for someone like Magbanua who had connections to the family wasn't super formal. Doesn't automatically mean it's a payoff.
Right. Context matters.
Yeah.
What about that FBI bump operation later on?
Yeah.
Where the agent approached Donna?
Yeah, the undercover agent asking for money. The prosecution presented her reaction panic, contacting Charlie, getting lawyers as consciousness of guilt.
But the defense?
They framed it totally differently. They said, of course she panicked. A stranger comes up, implies knowledge of a murder, asks for money. You'd be scared, you'd call family, you'd call a lawyer. It shows fear, maybe, but not necessarily guilt over this specific crime.
So with all these arguments back and forth, what's the actual legal standard here for the prosecution to prove conspiracy against Donna?
It's a high bar. They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that there was an agreement to commit the crime and that Donna had the specific intent for Markle to be murdered.
And with so much circumstantial evidence.
Exactly. The state has to show that all the evidence, when put together, is inconsistent with any reasonable hypothesis of innocence. If there is another reasonable explanation for her actions, even if it seems unlikely, that creates doubt.
So it really comes down to untangling her individual actions and intent from this, really enmeshed family dynamic.
That's the core tension, yeah, where communication might be coded, boundaries are blurry. Was she just an overbearing mother, maybe saying some awful things out of desperation, or does she cross that line into criminal conspiracy?
So this first day really sets the stage for that challenge.
It really does. It highlights just how tough these complex conspiracy cases are, especially when you mix in family loyalty, maybe ambiguous emails or texts, indirect money flows.
It forces you, the listener, to really think. How do we separate a parent's maybe even extreme desire to have their grandkids' clothes from actively plotting a murder? It's this constant battle between deep suspicion and needing that concrete legal proof.
Absolutely. And that central question hangs over everything. Where is that line between fierce, maybe even toxic family loyalty and actual criminal responsibility? What stands out to you when you think about drawing that line?